Hello and welcome back. I'm talking about a new record today. This one was a request. Hope that's okay. Canadian indie rock band Arcade Fire are back with a new record this week. Their first since 2022's We and the disturbing allegations that came out in its wake. How does a band come back from disaster? And what's that title really referring to? Well, stick around because today we're going to discuss pedal steel ambient excursions, marketing via a mobile app, and attempting a comeback from the brink of cancellation. Today, we're talking about Pink Elephant by the Arcade Fire. Pink Elephant is the 7th studio album by Canadian indie rock band Arcade Fire, released this past 9th day of May of 2025 in this year of the snake. Before we get into the record, a little prologue. Arcade Fire have been one of the most loved, musically consistent, and critically acclaimed bands of the past 2 decades. They were responsible for a 3-album run as good as anyone in music from 2004 through 2010. Following this, their 2013 album Reflector was an uneven double album and perhaps the first indicator that the group's quality control wasn't exactly reaching the same levels as their heavy ambitions. Then in 2017, they released this sort of half-baked social political commentary, Everything Now, with a promo campaign somewhat mocking the very media outlets they were counting on to get the word out. On their 2022 6th record, We, they did away with the predecessor's performative irony and ham-fisted anti-internet commentary and returned to the grandeur and earnestness that marked their early work. I felt that We was stronger than Everything Now, perhaps not a full return to form, but a reset of sorts. Well, 3 months later, news outlet Pitchfork published an exhaustive investigative report delving into allegations of misconduct against Arcade Fire frontman Win Butler, outlined by multiple accusers. I recall at the time that Feist dropped off as tour opener and the band were very much going into damage control mode. I still remember attending their arena tour, which felt significantly undersold, as I'd imagine many chose to not attend despite the excellent performance. There was a really weird vibe in the room as well before the band went on. 3 years later, Arcade Fire has released another album, Pink Elephant, with the purpose of once again resetting their career. In March of 2025, members of Arcade Fire performed at Luck Reunion outside of Austin, where they debuted new songs for the forthcoming album. These tracks included Pink Elephant, Ride or Die, and Year of the Snake. On April 4th, the band published a teaser video clip on their social media accounts, and they released a social networking mobile app brand named Trust. In the app, the band published video clips like Win delivering a guitar tutorial on how to play Pink Elephant, some merch, as well as an exclusive new song, Cars and Telephones. This track is an excellent acoustic ballad that features some classic Arcade Fire string embellishments that's mysteriously absent from the album. On Pink Elephant, the band are presented as a relatively pared back, at least for them, 5-piece lineup. Win's brother Will left following recording We, and his presence was missed on the prior tour as well as on this record. The band actually sound more like a duo here, with Butler and Shazan often taking turns or duetting on what are relatively stripped-back acoustic or at times hybrid electronic arrangements. Produced by Daniel Lanois, one thing that attracted me to this record is there's a lushness and far-off slide guitar twang on many of these songs that recalls the classic work he's done with U2, Brian Eno, and Harold Budd, not to mention Lanois' own solo material. Also, many of the songs are quite restrained and have a tendency to dissolve into ambience or fade into the next track, as if worried of overstaying their welcome. The album starts up with a deep layered drone on Open Your Heart or Die Trying. As this opener comes to life, it wails and bellows, sounding almost like an air raid siren. There's these resonant frequencies as the synths rise and then crash back down again. This is by far the most out there an Arcade Fire track has sounded, and that's taking into account the work that they did with James Murphy on Reflector. Title track Pink Elephant floats in on a cloud with a guitar strum and some plaintive, far-off horns as Wynn's voice surprisingly drops in, sounding heavily muffled before the song proper kicks in. Here Butler sings a repeated chorus refrain of "Take your mind off me for a little while" and "I need a clean break." Later in the lyrics we get "Your fake friends, they go out dancing, but you're too busy neuromancing." And, "Well, what can I do? Now it's all irrelevant. Don't think about Pink Elephant." Despite these lyrics, this title track is quite solid and feels like a pensive post-punk car ride through open roads that wouldn't have been out of place on their classic album, The Suburbs. Take your mind off me, yeah. Year of the Snake takes its time as it wistfully unfolds. Released as the album's first single, this one is a duet featuring Shazan and Butler trading verses before coming together to sing, "It's the season of change, and if you feel strange, it's probably good." And later, as the track further unfolds, "It's the year of the snake, so let your heart break," while the music builds up to a trademark Arcade Fire sonic catharsis. The music video is one of the most visually striking I've seen for a while, in part due to how its nostalgic cinematography and scenery recall iconic 90s videos from Radiohead and the Smashing Pumpkins. The album switches gears on fourth song, Circle of Trust. Starting with this track, the band falls back on the flaccid electronic beats and chanted platitudes that have become habitual detours since 2013's Reflector. There's a queasy sense of unease evoked by Butler and Shazan's muted vocal delivery, barely audible beneath the Euro bounce of the modish Pet Shop Boys-esque motoric pulse of the synth bass. This song's title, which is also the repeated chorus refrain, are also perhaps a bit too on the nose. Shazan's soft vocal intonations and some loose and punchy percussion fills do help somewhat enrich this track, as do these elegant sounding dark guitar jangles and these echoing synth stabs. Write your name in the fire in the sky, feel love. Alien Nation is slightly better, sounding like a Reflector leftover. This one features an infectious groove with some dirty sounding overdriven bass. It hits a pretty raucous pinnacle before fizzling back out again with the next instrumental interlude, Beyond Salvation, which sort of sounds like the theme music to an alien tractor beam, pulling you into the mothership with some elegantly arranged strings bending to and fro around these alien-sounding mutated vocals. Trippy. The big ballad here, and probably my favorite, Ride or Die, is sparse and lovelorn and registers more than enough emotive force, with pastoral guitars recalling early Arcade Fire-isms off Funeral and The Suburbs. Butler and Shazan are dead set on proving their union is strong on this one, with lyrics proclaiming, "I can take you anywhere, wind is blowing back your hair. I could work an office job, you could be a waitress." On a record of many understated moments, the bridge refrain of "Mountains are moving tonight" is Pink Elephant's most understatedly sublime moment, and if anything, the song is too short as it dissolves like water through one's fingers. More of this, please. Eighth track, I Love Her Shadow, is a late highlight and the most anthemic tune on this record, while also possessing the most what were they thinking lyric. Butler is admitted to his use of social media to contact members of Arcade Fire's young fan base. In that light, I Love Her Shadow feels remarkably tone-deaf, with lines like, I want you to tell me everything about your hometown and the stars. I want to make new constellations from your permanent scars. We've never met, but I remember who you are. Before, over the outro, repeating, she loves me not. Forgetting about the lyrics, musically, this one's reminiscent of their song Afterlife, but far more electronic. Much of the music in the verses is just this simplistic kick, snare, and bass before the chorus introduces strings and several electronic flourishes. The final minute and a half is particularly gorgeous, with several layers of strings and some lovely harmonies. Then this syncopated synth riff carries the song even higher before fading away. This is followed by another ambient interlude on She Cries Diamond Rain. Full of Lanois' twang and lush pads, this one acts more like a palate cleanser before the journey that is the closing number, the heavily introspective Stuck in My Head. Here Butler repeats the words like a mantra. It's a mess in my bedroom, mess in my car, mess in my head, mess in my heart. The longest and by far most energetic track on the album, this one moves through several rises and falls. Following a brief reprieve with a touch of ambience, the final chorus run at last reaches a catharsis before crashing down and dissolving into low rumblings and far-off drones. Indie exclusive vinyl. This one's limited to 14,500 copies. Hardly limited. My number's 5951. And it's embossed. I don't know if you can see that. And it's a gatefold inner sleeve. Pink with clear. And it comes with this 64-page book, I guess about Pink Elephant, with lyrics and photos and all kinds of stuff. In this age of endless variants, there's of course a standard black. This one is the clear with pink, slightly different cover. Shows more of the melted candle. There's also a red translucent with pink marble with yellow mixed in, striped with it, and another alternate cover. In terms of sound, the vinyl sounds fairly punchy and quiet. I played it through once, I didn't get any crackle. This one's lacquer is cut by MOG and they do good work. In terms of design, they always go above and beyond in order to get the design just right. Everything from the foil lettering to making the vinyl coloring look like melted wax to the booklet with pictures and showing the Pink Elephant candle melting. This is a really nice package. Pink Elephant is fairly understated, lacking any of the expansive bombast of earlier albums. In a way, it's almost too personal, like listening to a preacher begging for forgiveness from his flock. I do appreciate its breezy 42-minute runtime on what is essentially 7 songs and 3 mood pieces bathed in gorgeous production. Lanois gonna Lanois. Though Arcade Fire stated that the titular pachyderm in question refers to ironic process theory, the paradox that occurs when one tries so hard to squash a thought that it becomes the only thing that they can think about, it's quite clear Pink Elephant also refers to the elephant in the room as it pertains to the 2022 scandal of Win Butler's misconduct allegations. Further to the title, Win's lyrics are quite on the nose in documenting Win and Regine working through the situation. They often feel like the couple threading the needle between headlong confronting the scandal, but also wanting listeners to forget all that stuff and remember a time when Arcade Fire were earnestly proclaiming, "We're all in this together." Whether you can get past these plainly obvious themes or not, the music remains strong, albeit in a more understated presentation that's stripped of their loftier excesses. I find the album loses its way in the middle, with the strongest tracks bookending the meandering electronic numbers. Pink Elephant is the sound of Arcade Fire hitting the reset button, something we can all benefit from once in a while. On it, they're putting some of their bigger, more ambitious tendencies on pause to allow themselves to be a bit more loose and spontaneous. Still though, a track like I Love Her Shadow soars up with some of their prior classics and should work even better live. During the lead up to release, Pink Elephant's preview tracks didn't make much of an impression on me. It was only when a friend asked if I was going to review this record that I even realized it was out. I've been feeling burnt out, bogged down, doing these epic retrospectives on my channel and needing a break to get off this hamster wheel. Covering this album has allowed me to hit the reset button, putting my bigger plans on this channel on a brief pause. Given the subsequent quasi-cancellation of Arcade Fire due to the allegations, and because the band aren't doing any interviews, this record is currently flying under the radar, unique for such a high-profile band. Whatever your feelings of Win Butler and whether you can separate an artist's work from them acting like a dirtbag, I can't ignore the artistry on display on this album, from the arrangements, in the music, to the production, to the way a song like Ride or Die stays with me. It may not be up there with their classics, but if this album was released by a new band in 2025, the media would be lauding praise on them rather than ignoring them. Pink Elephant is uneven, but it's a grower, which I'm enjoying more with each listen. 2025 has so far been a relatively quiet year for noteworthy rock releases. If you've enjoyed this band in the past, I'd encourage you to not sleep on this record and give it a listen. So, that's gonna do it for today. I'm gonna link the excellent non-album track Cars and Telephones and the video for Year of the Snake down in the description. Have you heard Pink Elephant, and what do you think of it? Where would you rank it in Arcade Fire's discography? Let me know down in the comments, as well as if you want to see more reviews of new records on here, or if you just think I should stick to nostalgia. Thanks for watching. You can see more of my videos right here. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you guys in the next one.